All right, howdy. Welcome to week 2 of the Mason and Zane show here in 2017. Week 2 of the football season is underway. Unfortunately, week 1 did not go according to plan for the Texas A&M Aggies.
That's not true. Half of week 1 went very well.
Great.
The second half, not so much.
And yet, all anybody is going to remember is the second half. If you live under a rock and don't already know, the Aggies blew a 34-point lead from the first half to the second half. Really, with 4:03 left in the third quarter on, is when we just decided to stop playing football. And Josh Rosen did what Josh Rosen does when he feels like it, and played really, really well, and led UCLA to the second biggest comeback in NCAA history. The biggest biggest lead that a SEC team has ever blown. That's right. That's
at least we made the
now.
Record books.
That's our
SEC.
record
SEC.
Anyway, so that's unfortunate, and the Aggies are 0-1. We should definitely be 1-0 because we're a better team than UCLA, but that's not how it went, and so we've got some unfortunate business to mop up here as we start week 2. Starting with just kind of breaking down the collapse.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to look back and recap last week. Personally, it was the most heartbreaking game I've ever been to in any sport, ever.
Yeah.
It was just awful. As Mitch said, A&M led 44-10 with 4:08 left in the third quarter after Daniel LaCamera made a 48-yard field goal to put the Aggies up by 5 touchdowns. Just 5 touchdowns and 4 extra points.
Yep.
UCLA would then go on to score 5 unanswered touchdowns on 5 consecutive drives.
5 drives, yep.
It was just horrendous, capped off by a fake spike touchdown.
Which, when you go back and look at the replay, he didn't actually have possession in bounds, but
we were going to lose
we
anyways.
were going to figure out a way, yeah.
There was like a minute and a half when he scored the touchdown anyways. We couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
We couldn't, what's the analogy from Bull Durham? You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. We couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
Our defense looked like Swiss cheese
Literally, in the case of Deshaun Caper-Smith's hands.
Oh my God! That was the moment I kind of knew, like, this is how it's going to go.
Yeah, that moment, of course, a eventual touchdown pass thrown by Josh Rosen. That was a perfect pass to Deshaun Caper-Smith.
We know why Caper-Smith does not play wide receiver now.
It was a perfect pass
and it was
to our boy.
It was a horrible throw on Rosen's
It was
part.
completely underthrown.
He just got
it was
so lucky.
It was a good read because he was wide open if he threw the ball right. He just underthrew it, and Caper-Smith went up for the interception, did not come down with the ball. Instead, the ball went right through his hands and into the waiting arms of the UCLA wideout. So
if we pick that ball off, we win. But
if we make a field goal with under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, we win the game. If we don't,
in the first quarter, when we recover the ball 3-yard line, if we score a touchdown instead of trying to throw 2 cute fades and then get stuck,
just run the ball.
Run the ball. That's what I have written down here. Yep. Run the damn ball. Yep. And the running game was outstanding. If you look at the stats, Travion Williams, 22 carries, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keith Ford, 18 carries, 114 yards, and 3 scores. Why wouldn't you continue to run the ball?
Yeah,
why not?
I don't know if I'm sure you watched the post-game interview that Kevin Sumlin had. He was taking the blame, saying he and the coaches didn't get it done. Obviously, we're going to talk about his coaching seat in just a second. But the thing that struck me was just his lack of awareness of the play calling. Because if you go back and read the transcript, Sumlin talks about how they made a point of giving Travion Williams the ball in the fourth quarter. Travion Williams had 2 carries in the fourth quarter, and yet Sumlin said the emphasis in the fourth quarter was to give it to the man that had been running the ball the entire first half, and yet he had 2 carries. So I guess that's a perfect segue into
I've got all of this right
Sumlin's security.
Look at that. The game management was horrible. And Kevin Sumlin said in his post-game presser that the clock management wasn't as big of a deal as people are trying to make it.
No, it was.
Kevin, I've got it right here.
It was.
On those 5 drives to end the game for the Aggies, our last 5 drives after the made field goal, the Aggies went punt, missed field goal, punt, turnover rundowns to end the game. On those 5 drives, A&M ran the ball 11 times for positive yardage. That doesn't include Trey being stopped behind the line once, Kirk being stopped behind the line once, and then 3 sacks. Kellen Mond threw the ball 6 times for incompletions on those final 5 drives, and that's not considering the last 3 on the final drive where he had to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So if you take those 6 incomplete passes where they're runs, or if Kellen Mond just takes a knee, that equates to at least 4 minutes of game clock coming off.
Ouch.
That takes away 2 UCLA touchdowns.
Ouch. Yeah.
So for Kevin Sumlin to say that the clock management was great, that's horrible. That's just idiotic.
No.
That is just horrendous.
Yeah, and you talk about even with the play calls, even if you decide to keep throwing the ball, which obviously they did, they were snapping the ball 10 seconds into the play clock.
See, I didn't even look at that. If you just look at this and you wind it down, you wind those 40 seconds down on all 6 of those incompletions that he throws, it's just, oh my.
I don't know why. I mean, yes, you keep the pressure going on UCLA, and so I think if you come out of the halftime into the second half and your offense is still clicking, I mean, it was very apparent from the start of the third quarter. Our offense was not quite up to par, especially once Starkle went out. But you got to keep your foot down on their throats, right, and keep driving the ball. But once that becomes apparent that, hey, all of a sudden we can't throw the ball, Starkle's out, we have Mond in here, we need him to drive the bus, just run the ball. Run the play clock down, play game manager from the middle of the third quarter. You're up by 35 points. Your sole objective now
is to kill the clock.
Kill the clock
and get out of here alive with no more injuries.
Yes.
And if you look at it, the Aggies on those 5 drives, because everybody wants to say, oh, well, UCLA was stacking the box and stopping the run. No, they weren't. On those final 5 drives, the Aggies were only stopped behind the line on called running plays, not including sacks, obviously, because those happened. Those were passing plays that shouldn't have been passing plays to begin with. We were only stopped behind the line on rushing plays twice.
Ouch.
And it was like a 1-yard loss for Trey, and then it was like a 6-yard loss
for Kirk, right?
For Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the trick play or whatever?
Yes.
That was a dumb call, too. Yeah.
But people want to say we couldn't run the ball in the second half, and that's wrong. That's just flat wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what to say at this point. I mean, I was watching Fox Sports earlier today while I was not making lunch because I didn't eat lunch, but anyway, it was on. And they were talking about how, oh, that's really cool.
I saw that.
Oh, nice.
Zeke's going to play.
Breaking news. Cowboys Ezekiel Elliott granted temporary restraining order, likely able to play the full season.
Not going to matter, Lions.
Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl, baby.
Lions are winning it all. Calm down.
Absolutely
Lions, Matt Stafford, sad.
No defense.
Don't disgrace Zeke onslaught.
Anyway, completely forgot what I was saying. Point is,
run the ball.
Sumlin's in trouble. He messed up. I don't agree with the Regent coming out and blasting him on Facebook. That's not professional.
That
all
doesn't
of the
help at all.
Hate mail, the racist comments that have been directed towards Sumlin and his family, stop that. That's ridiculous. That's not even remotely okay.
He's a football coach.
He's a football coach. He didn't do anything. He's not a bad guy.
He did his job poorly last week.
Yes.
That is no meat.
And it's not like he's trying to hurt the school. He's not trying to lose games. He's not mad at the university. Now he might be mad at Aggie fans that are sending him hate mail. But it's not like, yes, it is his fault in a professional sense. It's not his fault in a personal sense. And when people cross that line, when they lose their perspective on reality, that's when it's just unacceptable. So, do I think he needs to go? Yes. Does it warrant hate mail, hate speech, a Regent blasting him on Facebook? No, absolutely not.
I agree. I think Kevin Sumlin, that's just inexcusable. Collapsing like that is inexcusable. That's on him and on
Mazzoni.
Noel Mazzoni.
Yeah.
He's got to know not to it's his offense. He's making the play call. He has to know, okay, don't pass the ball in the last 19 minutes of the clock of game time when you're up 34 points. Like, that is easy. I've seen better play or clock management at Pop Warner football levels.
Yeah.
Like, that was pathetic. He's got to go too. And you could make the case that Chavis has got to go because his defense let up 15 or 35 unanswered points. But look what he was working with. They were on the field for most of the fourth
second
quarter.
half. The whole second half they were on the field, and then they lost. They lost Donovan Wilson. I actually don't know when we lost him. Do you know? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly when, but it didn't really make a difference. Our secondary.
Armani Watts did not play like Armani Watts should play. We had multiple young secondary members get burned. Deshaun Capers-Smith makes the interception.
Yeah.
We're sitting here at 1-0. Catch the football. Yeah, just it's just the domino effect. When one thing goes poorly for the Aggies, everything goes wrong, and so.
But I will go back to the Tony Busby comments. If you haven't heard about it or seen it, Tony Busby absolutely ripped Kevin Sumlin a new one on his Facebook page. Got shared a boatload of times, just all over the place. And Tony Busby, if you are listening to this, and I know you're not because this is like one of the worst listened to podcasts of all time, but you're an idiot. You are a moron. That is a public forum that you just posted that you want somebody to be fired. Now, I understand that regents have a lot of pull and you're just one vote out of 12 or whatever, but that's horrible. You do not want this program to look as unstable as it actually is. Like, we understand Kevin Sumlin's on the hot seat. That was made very apparent coming into the year. Scott Woodward said that at the end of this season, we'd go back and look at his body of work and decide whether or not to use the buyout and fire him.
Yeah.
Like, recruits know that. Everybody knows that. But when you are a regent and you come out and say something like that, that's an even worse look. And that shows, it looks like the place is about to implode. That looks like this program is so unstable, like we're literally sitting on a powder keg waiting for it to all blow up.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot do that. College signing day has been moved up from February to December this year. If you were to fire Kevin Sumlin before next year, there's no excuse why you don't do it in February when everybody's already inked their NLIs.
Yeah.
But now, if I'm a 17-year-old kid who's got a decision to make in the next few months, I'm looking at Texas A&M and I'm thinking, oh, well, now even the Board of Regents at Texas A&M thinks my coach is going to get fired. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just not a good look, and you don't want. I mean, it's such a dark cloud that's now hanging over Kevin Sumlin that doesn't need to be there.
Yep.
And I've heard that the Board of Regents are all going to be attending this game together this week for Nicholls State, which is interesting. So, now that that's leaked, that's putting more pressure on him and this team when they just need to go out and play.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
It's unfortunate.
It's way too much.
It's
attention.
way too early to make a decision too.
No, I agree.
What if Kevin Sumlin runs the table and goes 11-1? Do we fire him? Does Tony Busby change his mind? If we do run the table, I mean,
which we're not.
It's most likely not going to happen. So there's about a 99% chance that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There was a 99.9% chance the Aggies won last week. So anything can happen. But if the Aggies were to do that, does Tony Busby still vote to terminate Kevin Sumlin at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Because he looks like an idiot no matter what happens.
Yeah, no, there's no positive way that this helps the Board of Regents in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, that's about as depressing as this show's gonna get. Unfortunately, this is.
Nope, I got one more depressing thing. The Dodgers have lost 11 of 12 and 7 straight.
Sorry.
7. Yes, 7 in a row.
Sorry,
since I saw them last Saturday afternoon, and they lost on a walk-off home run. They've lost 7 straight. And then I went to the Rose Bowl the next day and watched the Aggies lose.
It was a great weekend for you.
I'm having a heck of a week, y'all. Pray for me.
Injuries to talk about now. Obviously, Nick Starkel probably done for the year. Broken ankle,
Broken ankle, had surgery on it, I believe,
Tuesday.
There's no timetable for that return.
He's done for the year.
It's looking like he's not going to return. Usually it takes 8 to 10 weeks before you can even start rehabbing that injury.
And he's got to relearn how to walk on that ankle.
Yes,
No, it's forget it. Starkel's done for the season.
And that's pretty much the same thing with Donovan Wilson, although his is a broken foot, not an ankle.
Had surgery, screws put in.
It's the same rehab.
Yeah, no, he's done for the year, which really sucks for Donovan Wilson. Although, can he have a medical red shirt now?
They should be able to get, especially Starkel should be able to get a medical red shirt. He only played less than one half.
Yes. Wilson, I'm more thinking about his draft stock. I don't know if he'd really stick around or not, but
if he's hurt and he can't play the rest of the year and he can get a medical red shirt, he should come back. Yeah,
he should come back for sure. But
he's not
Watts,
going to get drafted.
I tell you what, man, that was a really good looking safety combination, him and Watts. But
anyways,
regardless,
also,
they're done for the year.
Also on the injury report, Daniel LaCamera, he was not the guy who missed the field goal in the fourth quarter. That was Braden Mann. He was in the locker room at that time. I had a buddy who was sitting over by the A&M tunnel, and after we missed that field goal, he came back out with his helmet in hand. Something must be bothering him in his foot because he made the field goal with 4:08 to go. But Kevin Sumlin did say this week that he is available and will probably play. It kind of makes me think that it's going to be a nagging season-long injury for LaCamera, and that's not good, but hopefully it was just like a one-time thing and he screwed up a toenail or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few things that I thought was pretty much automatic this season was going to be LaCamera field goal kicking.
He's looked pretty good. He looked really good.
Yeah.
Made, what was it? How many field goals did we make?
4? 3 or 4.
We made quite a bit.
3 or 4.
I mean, I don't remember an Aggie kicking team that was this good.
It's hard to remember. So we'll go ahead and move on from the Aggies' loss. We'll talk about them and Nicholls State, our home opener, in just a minute. But first, let's finish recapping the games that we picked last week. You unfortunately had a rough week with the pick'em.
I went 500.
3-3.
Yeah.
I unfortunately was 6-0 with the UCLA game pick. Hated to be right, but I mean, we did lose for all the reasons that I said we might lose. If Josh Rosen gets hot, he gets hot. And as unfortunate as that is, I did go 6-0. But
yeah, good for you, man. I'm so happy you went 6-0.
Not to pat myself on the back, but I was right.
Yeah, we got you. You're so cool.
Alabama beat Florida State to start the recap, 24-7. Not a huge surprise that Bama won, but the big story coming out of that, DeAndre Francois, Cam Newton's college twin, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, he's like a doppelganger. He looked exactly like him.
He did.
With helmet on.
Yes.
Takes his hat off. He's got all kinds of
He's got like this facial expression that Cam does, and with his helmet on, with the visor, he looks like Cam Newton. But DeAndre Francois, the talented quarterback for Florida State, done for the year, torn patella tendon on a tackle that was very, very similar to how Nick Starkel was hit, just hit from behind. Obviously, the defender in Starkel's case rolled up on his ankle. In this case, somehow his knee jerked and tore his patella tendon. So Florida State scrambling for a quarterback.
It's unfortunate.
They've lost their star and likely their season, too.
I thought he was going to be a Heisman contender.
He looked like
it.
He certainly looked like it.
But other than the injury to Francois, and that's very unfortunate for that young man. But other than that, it was a very typical Alabama game. It was close in the first half, and then Alabama decided to play defense. They scored 21 unanswered points, a touchdown, field goal, touchdown +2, and then another field goal. Win 24-7, or another touchdown rather. Won 24-7.
Yep.
Just a beat down.
Yep.
This team's gonna steamroll everybody. I keep telling y'all that it's gonna happen.
I think so too.
They began their season in Atlanta. They're gonna end it in Atlanta. So.
It certainly feels like it. Michigan went on the road, as did Florida, to Jerry World in Dallas. Michigan had a terrible first half. Holton Spate threw back-to-back pick sixes on back-to-back passes to start drives. Michigan rallied, though, in the second half, ended up beating Florida 33-17. Florida going with Felipe Franks again at quarterback this weekend, but, man, he did not look all that good last week.
Not a single offensive touchdown for the Gators. They looked very overrated. Michigan came out looking overrated, but they scored 23 unanswered, kept Florida off the board in the second, or 23. Did I say 33 or 23? Anyways, yeah, scored 23 unanswered points and kept Florida off the board in the second half and moved themselves up to number 8 this week.
Yep. Yeah, Michigan did what they had to do in the second half. I had some friends over watching that first half, and they had kind of given up. They were expecting Florida to just steamroll, and I said, if Michigan's defense comes to play in the second half, their offense will figure it out, and that's literally exactly what happened. We didn't pick it last week, but it is worth noting that
it's funny because Texas lost to Maryland.
Number 23 Texas began the Tom Herman era with an L, and a hard one at that. Maryland upset the Horns 51-41. Shane Buechele threw for 375 yards, but the Longhorn offense just statistically had decent numbers.
Pick 6, and they also had a blocked punt for a touchdown.
Yeah, just special team errors all over the place. Texas looked terrible. It was a great game to watch until we lost later in the weekend. But other than that, it was a lot of fun to watch. I'm missing the next game. Where did it go?
LSU and BYU. Number 13 LSU and BYU at a home game for the Tigers at the Superdome there in New Orleans. LSU 27, BYU nothing. Danny Etling wasn't amazing. He threw 14 for 17, 171 yards, but Darius Geis 27 carries, 122 yards. That's a 4.5 average, 2 touchdowns. And then also, it's going to be a two-headed monster in that Tiger backfield. Darrell Williams, 15 carries, 92 yards, 6.1 average for a touchdown as well. Yeah. Tigers living up to that number 13 preseason ranking.
LSU just has to drive the bus. That's what the Aggies should have done. That's all LSU has to do. Just drive the bus and let your running backs take care of you. It'll probably be.
I think that game in Baton Rouge last week of the year could be a very interesting matchup between running backs. Okay. I think the running game for both these teams are going to be pretty good.
Yeah. West Virginia went to Landover, Maryland, FedEx Field to play Virginia Tech in a very close game. Wait, no, I was not 6-0. Virginia Tech won.
You picked Virginia Tech?
I picked West Virginia. So I was 5-1.
Ha-ha!
Virginia Tech beat West Virginia. I thought Will Grier would get it done. He threw for 371 yards, but their defense didn't hold up in the end. What can you say? It was a really, really good game. Apparently, they want to move this game like it's a series, and the game had how many people were at that game?
I don't know.
They filled up FedEx Field. It was quite a few people there.
I mean, it's pretty close regionally to both those.
Yeah, I was reading an article that they want to get that series back on their campuses just because they love the series. It provides obviously great TV. It was a good game on Sunday night if you weren't watching the Aggie game.
But yeah, great game. Mm-hmm. Virginia Tech scored a touchdown with 6.5 to go to take a 7-point lead. West Virginia got all the way down to the Virginia Tech 15 before they eventually ran out of time. The time expired and Virginia Tech got the win. Virginia Tech's quarterback Josh Jackson, 15 for 26 throwing with 235 yards and a touchdown, and then running 101 on 11 carries for a touchdown. He had a pretty good game.
I guess so.
So that could be a name to watch out for is if Virginia Tech keeps winning to keep in your Heisman considerations.
Yeah, it certainly could. Number 25, Tennessee to cap off the week, did beat Georgia Tech in 2 overtimes, 42-41. Georgia Tech Tennessee came storming back in the fourth quarter. Georgia Tech was up. A number of Tennessee fans left the ballgame early, assuming they were about to get upset. Tennessee ties it up late with under 2 minutes to go. They go to overtime. Georgia Tech had the game-winning field goal blocked with 3 seconds left. You go to the extra frames, and Georgia Tech, after Tennessee had scored a touchdown, decided to end the game by going for a 2-point conversion. Got stopped on the 1 yard line. No,
it wasn't close.
It wasn't close to him getting in. The pitch from the quarterback came far too late, and running back had zero momentum.
But I think it was in the second overtime, and it was a designed run for the quarterback.
He got stuffed.
Quarterback Marshall, and he got stuffed, and then he decided to pitch it and throw it.
Reggie Bush style.
And he dropped it. The guy dropped it. It hit the ground. It was a forward pass.
Yeah.
The game was over, but he didn't even get to the goal line.
No.
So, but yeah, Tennessee was down 2 touchdowns, 28-14, with 13:08 to go in the fourth, and somehow they just. Why does it keep happening to them? They just find ways to win. That gross. Program is horrible. Butch Jones is such a bad coach, but they find ways to win games. I don't get it. They looked completely overrated for the first 45 minutes of that game. I don't think they're going to end up being in the top 25, and I definitely don't think they're going to compete in the SEC East.
No, I don't think so either.
So, yeah, I went 3-3.
I guess
You did better than me.
It's okay. I'm not happy about it.
I've got some catching up to do.
We'll go ahead and move into this week's slate of games, and Richard, I believe you've got the list.
Yeah, our first game, we're going to do 5 non-A&M games for the rest of the year, I think. Unless we get, like, really good games where there's, like, 10 ranked matchups in 1 week. I don't think that'll ever happen, though. Our first game this week is going to be number 23 TCU at Arkansas. 2:30 kickoff Central Time on CBS. Kenny Trill, the former Aggie, is going to be leading the offense for the Horned Frogs. Remember, he beat Arkansas in 2014 in overtime. So maybe he can channel his winning ways, but I don't see that happening purely because it's at home in Fayetteville. I think TCU at 23 is overrated, and I think I think the run game will just beat them down.
Yeah, I mean, TCU played Jacksonville State week 1. Sure, great. Put up 63 points, didn't allow anything. Congratulations. Man, I don't know. This is tough because Arkansas at home, they're dangerous. They can pull some upsets for sure. That's on CBS. It's the SEC game of the week. I'm just going to pick TCU because you picked Arkansas. If Kenny Hill can get the offense going, we've seen how many points TCU can put up, and I don't think there's any there's very few defenses that can stop a high-powered offense like TCU's, like Baylor's of old, when it really gets going. I don't know if Arkansas...
Just talk about Baylor?
Of old.
Oh, remember Baylor lost to Liberty?
Yeah, no. I'm not talking about this year's Baylor team.
But they lost to Liberty.
They did. Baylor did lose to Liberty, and it was great.
And Texas lost to Kansas last year.
But yeah, I'll just pick TCU because you're picking Arkansas, and we'll just we'll have a pick in there.
We'll see if you can extend your lead, I guess. Our next game is going to be the number 13 Auburn at number 3 Clemson. 6 o'clock on ESPN. That's going to be a good game. I think that's obviously the second best game of the week behind Oklahoma, Ohio State.
Yeah.
I think this is the first true test for Jared Stidham in his entire college career. He played at Baylor where they hardly ever saw a good defense.
Yeah.
And Clemson's going to have a good defense. But I do think that Clemson gets the win just because I think Auburn's overrated too at 13. I think they're more of they're a bottom 5, top 25 team. But I just think that crowd at home, it's their first real game of the year. They had their national championship ceremony last week. But I think the crowd at Clemson is just going to come alive, and I think it's going to be too much for Jarrett Stidham and the Tigers to overcome.
Yeah, I don't think Auburn is that great of a team. Do they still have Kerryon Johnson? I don't remember. Who's Auburn's running back right now? I think it's Kerryon Johnson. I'm going to keep checking on that. But, I mean, Kelly Bryant looked pretty good last week against Kent State. Clemson's quarterback, of course, taking over for – yes, they do still have Kerryon Johnson. Taking over for Deshaun Watson, who's now a Houston Texan. I think you're right. I think Death Valley at night, prime time, against a quarterback who's never, like you said, never had a test in his life, in college football at least. Kerryon Johnson gives Auburn a chance. He's a beast of a running back. Last week, 16 carries for 136 yards and a touchdown, which came on his game-long 60-yard gallop against Georgia Southern, but not enough from Auburn right now, I don't think, to top Clemson. Clemson wants to come out and prove that they belong in the top 2, that Bama, Clemson, Episode 3 should happen again. I think Clemson gets it done. So we'll see. We'll see for sure. Battle of the Tigers. It'll be good, though.
That happens quite a bit, the Battle of the Tigers.
It does.
Our next game, number 5, OU, traveling to Columbus to face the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, 6:30 on ABC. College game days up in Columbus. What do you see happening in this one?
Well, last year, these two teams played, and I believe I took the Sooners. And that was an upset. Last year was an upset, had the Sooners beating the Buckeyes. So much trash was talked before that game. What was it? The third-string quarterback for OU was like, they don't know how to play defense. They just read stuff off their cards or whatever. OU absolutely got destroyed. This year, I think it's different. JT Barrett sucks at quarterback. He cannot play quarterback.
Interesting.
I think OU gets it done. Baker Mayfield is a legit college quarterback. I don't know if it's going to transfer to the NFL. He sure hopes it does. I don't know if it's going to transfer. JT Barrett, who struggled against the Hoosiers.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely
You're
looked terrible against the Hoosiers. I think wets the bed, and OU gets an upset. I mean,
he's right. Mitch is right. JT Barrett and the Buckeyes did not take care of business early against the Hoosiers. They had to come. They came alive late in the fourth quarter with a pair of pick sixes.
Yes,
but I think that the horseshoe at night is a little bit too tough for Baker Mayfield to handle. I think JT Barrett. They've also had an extra 2 days to prepare for this. Mm-hmm. Remember, their game against Indiana was on Thursday. They've had 2 extra days to prepare for OU.
Mm-hmm.
So they're well rested. They're ready to go. They're just ready.
Did you see something from Ohio? I don't know if you watched the game. I did. I didn't see anything from Ohio State's defense that led me to believe that they can stop Oklahoma's offense. I mean, what's his name? Richard Lego, the quarterback for Indiana. He absolutely tore the secondary apart. Torched the Buckeyes secondary early. And then Indiana started playing the quarterback game where they took people out.
I don't think that they're going to be able to stop Baker Mayfield in this high-powered offense, but I do think that if they can force him into some passing situations and get some pressure on him, Baker Mayfield is known for taking some shots and playing a little out there. Mm-hmm. So I think that Ohio State will be able to force him into some bad passes, and that's really where the game's going to be won, is on the turnover battle. Yeah. I really think that Ohio State's secondary is going to find a way to pick the ball off and end up winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, your pick is certainly the more popular pick. The FPI gives the Buckeyes a 77% chance to win it, like you said, at home, at night, in the Horseshoe, one of college football's most intimidating venues. I mean, if I'm wrong, great.
And
I mean, I just want a good game.
It was a beatdown.
Yes, it was absolutely.
Ohio State won in a beatdown. They've got much of the same guys there. I don't think OU's gonna have a snowball's chance in hell on Saturday night. Honestly,
we'll see.
That's just me.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. There's something in me that just doesn't trust. It is at home. They'll be comfortable there, but I know what I saw last Thursday night, and Ohio State's secondary looked very, very vulnerable. If Baker can exploit that, I think they have a shot, but. We'll just have to see. Unfortunately, it's the same time as our game, so I'll be paying attention to it on my phone intermittently. Won't actually get to sit down and watch that. And we also won't get to sit down and watch number 15 Georgia at number 24 Notre Dame. The first time these two teams, is it the first time that they've ever played?
I don't know.
I think it's the first time they've ever played. Let me check real quick. I believe that's what it was. Yes, first meeting between the two teams since the Sugar Bowl in 1981. When Herschel Walker ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the first time in a while. Who you got?
I got Georgia.
Yep.
Easy. How is Notre Dame ranked?
I don't know.
How was Texas ranked last week? How is Tennessee ranked? Like, they're bad. These are bad football teams that are getting the benefit of the doubt because they're a brand name. And that's fact. Sure. Do you know what Notre Dame's record was last year?
4-8.
They went 4-8 and lost to Texas, who then lost to Kansas. Yep. By transitive property, Notre Dame lost to Kansas. How are they ranked? They've done nothing recruiting-wise. Brian Kelly has done absolutely nothing to change this culture back to the traditional Notre Dame beats everybody culture. He has done nothing. He is running this program into the ground, and I love it.
Yeah.
But Jacob Eason
Eason's not playing.
Eason, did he get hurt?
He has a strained knee ligament. It's the freshman Jake Fromm.
Whoa. I'm going to go with Georgia anyways. I think Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb are going to be too much for them to handle. I don't think Notre Dame's very good.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I think that's a venue that's much like Kyle Field that has this traditional reputation of being a hard place to win, but recently Notre Dame Stadium and Kyle Field have not been hard places to win football games. Yeah. That's just me. I think Georgia walks in there. They're the better team. The running game is just stacked.
Yeah.
They've got 2 NFL caliber guys out of the backfield.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pick Georgia for the same reason that I would pick LSU or, a similar team in this situation. Jake Fromm is the true freshman, is the starting quarterback. Jacob Eason has a strained knee ligament, so he will not be in action. But they just need a bus driver. They just need someone to hand it off to Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, and they're going to run over Notre Dame. Like you said, I can't pick Notre Dame because I
won't pick Notre Dame until they show me.
Yes, exactly. If they beat Georgia this week, great. Have a statement win. Actually prove that you belong in the AP top 25. But
maybe. We'll see.
Well, I mean, beating
I don't
SEC.
I don't see them being there at the end of the year.
No. I don't think that they're going to be there at the end of the year either. But I am saying, if you want to prove that you are someone to be considered, someone in the top 25, you need to beat Georgia, who's not going to have great success passing the ball, I don't think. From last week was 10 for 15, 143 yards, and a touchdown. He's just not a vertical threat like Jacob Eason is. And so I think Georgia's largely going to have to run the ball. I just don't see Notre Dame stopping them.
But they should be all right doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Georgia could not throw the ball last week against Appalachian State, so I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame through the air by any stretch of the imagination. But Notre Dame is Notre Dame at the end of the day.
Our last game of the week features one of Notre Dame's biggest rivals. 7:30 on Fox. It's the Pac-12 after dark. Number 14 Stanford traveling to the Coliseum to face number 16 USC. And I don't think this is a hard one to pick either. I think Sam Darnold is just going to pick them apart. USC had some issues last week. They struggled a little bit with Western Michigan before they finally came alive and finally put the Broncos away. But I think USC is... I picked them to be in my college football playoff. This is probably their only true test of the entire year. And I think they come away with a win. It'll probably be a close one, but I think USC gets the win.
Yeah, I think USC breaks the trend this year. I think you're right. Sam Darnold, he's a future NFL prospect, might be a Heisman hopeful. Well, he is a Heisman hopeful this year. Might be your eventual Heisman winner. The FPI gives Stanford a 60% chance to win on the road, and I believe that's simply because Stanford's won the last 3 meetings between the Cardinal and the Trojans, including the 2015 Pac-12 title game, but I don't see how USC loses this unless Darnold just wets the bed.
Sam Darnold gets hurt in the first quarter, and God forbid that happens. But I don't see it. I think it's a nice warm-up for Sam Darnold. I think it's a way for him to get in the groove of things after he struggled last week. But then I think this is going to be a big week for him. He and his wide receivers are going to gel, and then going into next week, they're just going to put it all together and just absolutely dominate for the rest of the year. I think the Pac-12 is extremely weak, but they just need one more game to kind of gel.
No, I'm with you. Stanford's only game this year was against Rice. That was in Australia over a week ago. We talked about earlier with Ohio State having that extra time to prep. I mean, you could say that about Stanford, but I wonder, you had a game, it wasn't even on this continent. Are you rusty getting ready to play USC?
That's a very good...
At home.
That's a really good point, actually. And you might see some rust, you might see the Trojans exploit it. But then, again, they might come out firing on all cylinders, and it'll be up to Sam Darnold to, pull a rabbit out of his hat and, perform a miracle like he did in the Rose Bowl last year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I've got USC winning it just because they've got that X factor. They've got Sam Darnold.
I do too. For the record, I will take USC as well against the Cardinal. But other than that, that's our slate of games picked for the week. Let's talk about the Aggie game very, very quickly before we close it down. Kellen Mond obviously is going to be the starting quarterback this week, you would think, seeing as they did not turn to Kubinek last week in a clutch moment. I mean, if you stuck with Mond then, why wouldn't you start him now, give him a chance to get into his own groove, own the game for himself, and get experience?
I think that's exactly what my idea is. Starkel's down, and that sucks. That really hurts because he's the guy who got the first-team reps the last couple of weeks. Yep. He was getting first-team reps. He was able to kind of form a little bit of a relationship with his wide receivers. Not much, because our passing game threw for 60 yards, something like that last week, and it was ugly. But going forward with Kellen Mond, his passing game will improve as he gets those first-team reps, as he's able to gel with his wide receiving core, as he's able to figure out where to throw the ball to Christian Kirk so he can run down the sideline and do funny things and fun things. Last week he was 3 for 17 throwing the ball for 27 yards. That will change. that will change
as
he gets first team reps.
Yes, the people that are saying Kellen Mond will never be a passer, I mean, stop it. He got thrown into a game as the starting quarterback, having, like you said, not taken first team reps in a couple of weeks at the Rose Bowl against UCLA on national television in prime time. Like, how is that a formula for success for a guy that, like you said, was not the starting quarterback coming in? He's a true freshman. How else do you expect him to react? He had happy feet all over the place. I would have happy feet all over the place. Like, you can't tell me that a true freshman going into that situation, whether he's a pure passer or not, excels. Like, you just can't argue that to me.
I agree. 100%. I think that's going to change. He's going to develop. I don't know if he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be a NFL passing prospect.
He's not going to be any Trevor Knight. I mean, let's rein our expectations in.
Trevor Knight was horrible passing the ball. For the record, garbage. Anyways, but I think he could be a lot like Trevor Knight, honestly, at least this year, because he can run like Trevor could. Mm-hmm. And he can be adequate. He can be average. He can be adequate. He's not going to be amazing passing the ball. That'll continue in his development going forward. But the good news is for the Aggies who are worried about the rest of the season is that he's got 3 weeks of practice, now 2 weeks because I was counting last week. He's got 3 weeks of first-team reps and 2 games against what are largely considered cupcakes.
Yeah.
God forbid something happened to us like Appalachian State or Liberty, but he's got 3 weeks of practice and 2 games to finally come into his own before we start SEC play at Jerry World on the 23rd.
Yep.
He's got plenty of time. I think we'll be all right with Kellen Mond going forward. Honestly, I don't care if we just strip it down and we don't run the ball at all this week. Just throw and let him get some game reps that aren't first-team reps going up against your own defense. Let him get time at Kyle Field throwing the football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, obviously you want to – I think you do that maybe after you've established yourself in the running game. I think you come out the first quarter, run the ball down Nicholas State's throats, go up 14, 20, nothing, 21-3, 21-7, get a comfortable lead, and then sure, throw your screen passes, do whatever you got to do to get Kellen Mond comfortable, drop all your goofy plays, Mazzoni, throw the ball all over the lot, and then if it starts getting close again, just please run the football. Exactly. Yeah, run the football. Just please.
Another thing I think we need to stay away from is having him split time with Hubenak.
Yes, no.
Commit to a guy. If the guy is Jake Hubenak, if Kellen Mond goes out and lays an egg this week, play Hubenak. Yes. Let him develop. Just get the passing game going. Yeah. You have got to have a better passing game than what you had last week so that it can offset your running game.
Yeah,
it'll allow your running game to excel. So just pick a guy and let him get his reps and let him gel with his receiving core, and let's go into the SEC play and let's win a few games. Let's upset a couple teams.
I agree. I'm on board with all that.
That's what I expect from us going forward. I think the defense will be, we're going to continue to blitz. We're going to continue to bring pressure. Hopefully the defensive backs will realign themselves and get their feet back under him with Donovan Wilson going down. Armani Watts has got to be the leader now. He is the clear leader in the clubhouse on the defensive side of the ball. He's got to be better than he was last week.
I agreed, 100%.
I think A&M's going to win this game by at least 4 touchdowns.
I'd hope. I mean, traditionally I would take A&M big, but at the same time, we did not cover the spread last year against these wishy-washy teams. So
that's not true. We didn't cover the spread against
Prairie
UTSA.
View.
We scored 63 points against Prairie View.
And they scored?
None. We shut them out.
Oh, that's right. It was 6. Oh, that's a bad example.
The one game against a cupcake would have been UTSA. Where we only won by 13.
That's right. That's my bad. That's just revisionist history on my part. Anyway.
67 points, I believe.
Yes. No, you're right. That's right. I left that game early because it was such a blowout. Anyway.
Same.
Yeah, we're 2%ers. Anyway, that'll about do it for us in week 2. We'll be back next week. Hopefully talking hockey too, if we can get that figured out.
Yeah, we'll do that. I love hockey.
Yeah. So until then, hopefully the Aggies turn it around. We'll come back to
you.
Hopefully
the Aggies and the Dodgers turn it around. I'm hoping for a better weekend this weekend than I had last week.
That's fair. Thoughts and prayers go to the Dodgers as well. Hopefully the Aggies are 1-1 when we talk to you guys again next week. Until then, y'all have a good week.